Roger Scholey, a former reporter with the San Diego Union Tribune, here with Peter Jensen, talking about his articles in the Reader newspaper in the 1990s. And one of the first ones he did was about his trip down Mexican Highway Baja number 1, all the way down the Baja California coastline. So tell us about how that trip came to be and what did you discover on that journey?
Well, I think like a lot of people, when I first moved here, I was fascinated by Baja California, and I quickly realized that there was a vast, if a subculture can be vast, well, there was a big subculture of Baja aficionados who had done it all down there. I mean, they knew what kind of car you had to buy and what kind of camper shell you put on your car, and what kind of fish you're going to catch in Bahia de los Angeles, and all of that kind of stuff. We have more experts on Baja California here. They've written books about it and everything else, and of course that intrigued the heck out of me. And I had a young family. Kids were little. I had a VW pop-top camper, and we began to travel in Baja. But one day, my father-in-law, who had done a little bit of everything all over the world, was a fellow who probably should have died from various crazy adventures of his several times over by the time I even met him when I got married to his daughter. He crashed planes in the High Sierra. He'd been on a boat he'd taken a merchant ship out of Shanghai that was shelled by both sides during the revolution there. He survived that, on and on. He had a sailboat that he sailed down to La Paz, and he left it there. This wasn't a big fancy sailboat. It was, Islander 36 sailboat. But he said, "Let's get in the truck and go." And I said, "Yeah, I'm in, let's go." And one of my sons has disabilities. He's a very quiet man now, but as a child, very sensitive, quiet little boy. Not physical disabilities, but intellectual disabilities. And I said to Colin, "You want to go with your grandfather? Let's go. We're going to go on a big adventure." And he said, "Oh, no." He actually knew his grandfather, and I said, "I'm sorry, you have to go. Honestly, you have to go. We're going to have a big adventure." And off we went. And so somehow I talked the reader into letting me talk about, write a very long story about that trip. And it was really one of the stories that I got the biggest response to. Mm-hmm. First of all, because there's so many people who love doing that. They love Baja California as their touchstone. And secondly, it was a personal journey. It's always an emotional journey when I would challenge that little boy, my son, to do new things, and which was very important to him growing up. And by the way, he grew up and got married, and
did he ever make the route down Baja by himself?
No, actually.
One and done, right?
No, he's the same as he was back then. He refuses to drive a car because he said there are too many bad drivers out there. So he's never driven a car. So off we went, and a bunch of things happened, and just so many stories on that trip with Henry, and so many discoveries.
And was that the first time you had gone on that route?
No, I'd already been on some of these trips with the family van, and taken the kids down there, and had fallen in love with Baja California in Mexico. It was really the only place I've been in Mexico, was Baja California. And we'd usually go down to Ensenada, to a campground south of Ensenada, kind of between Ensenada and Bufadora.
But they'd never gone all the way to the
No,
pause.
I never had, and that was going to be a first for that. Subsequently, we did several times in the camper with my other son and all the kids and their friends, and we caravanned away.
You know, I've often wondered what California or the U.S. was thinking of seizing Baja California when it took California in the Mexican-American War, but it didn't. It backed off of that. I would just wonder what would have happened to Baja California if it had been an American part of state of California instead of Mexico.
Well, that's probably what would have happened is what has happened in the last 30 years to the whole Cape area. Is let's build golf courses and hotels and everything else. So, but Baja's still there. I mean, it's still there, and the constant drumbeat of how dangerous it is and everything else is simply,
Fear mongering.
it's fear mongering.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's no different than saying to yourself, "I'm not going to drive to work today," because people get killed on the freeway all the time. In fact, someone just got killed yesterday. It's still, and the whole reason that we began going to Mexico was one of my other kid, the one who has no disabilities. Unfortunately, he was the opposite end of the spectrum. He was so exploratory and so out there that you could, if you went into a restaurant, people would look at us like, "Can't you control him?" Because he'd be, "I want to go see this, I want to go do that," and he pretty soon the waiter would lead him back into the kitchen, and well, guess what? In Mexico, they love children, So we began taking all our vacations in Mexico. To this day, he's 47. He's still a little bit like that. But anyway, it was a great trip, and
So you recommend it to people even today?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.